Okay, so I might just sort of introduce the talk and the group and everything. There's probably, usually we get between 5 and 10 people because this is only like the fourth talk. I used to run a meetup group in Hong Kong, and we had around 500 members, and usually you'd get attendance of around 30 people in person, and usually about half of the people that said they'd sign up and end up coming. So in this event there was 22 people who said they'd sign up, so we'll probably, I think we should expect about 10 people come and go. But I am recording this, which is a good way of sharing the thoughts, the ideas, and the whole concept, which is, as I said, it's a new program for me. This is the fourth talk that I've done, and the general format is that I take a piece of technology or a new concept or some sort of creative tech that is trending or popular or active in my day-to-day work, and something that I've used before, something that I've researched and explored and know enough about to be confident enough to do a talk on, and then I just sort of explore it and share what I've learnt. And I try and get a guest speaker, and I had a guest who was meant to speak today from China, and he does artwork he creates Chinese watercolors based on finger painting. So he's got a touchscreen touchscreen artwork, and you draw on the touchscreen, and then it turns it into a Chinese watercolor painting. So his name is Avon Lezhou, and he was not able to attend because he is stuck in the mountains somewhere in China. There's some really bad torrential rain, and he wasn't able to join. So unfortunately, we're not going to have him today. I am featuring a couple of other artists, and ideally I'd love to get them to talk eventually. So as you probably already know a bit about AI, it's the reason you're here, but AI is massive. It's a huge topic, and you can't really cover it in an hour, which, by the way, this talk will probably only go for 45 minutes because we don't have a full account with Zoom yet, and also we don't have the guest speaker. And we've got 3 topics we're going to be covering, which is deepfake, image recognition, and style transfer with AI. So I don't think anyone else is going to be joining, so it's only a small crew, but that's good. Just some general housekeeping. So if you could keep your mics on mute, unless you need to ask a question, which is encouraged. If you do want to ask a question, just yell out, or you can just use the chat, which I'll be monitoring while I'm speaking, but I'm obviously not going to react straight away, so I'll check it intermittently. That said, I will be also sharing this deck at the end of the talk. I'll be sharing it on the meetup page, and I encourage you to reach out over email or meetup or however you feel fit. And this talk, as I mentioned earlier, will be shared on YouTube, so I'll have a playlist in my channel that I can share with everyone who wanted to go that couldn't, and to sort of support the cause of the meetup group. So, and with that, I'm going to start. So we are going to be talking today about 3 different topics, as I mentioned, and there's actually 4 tools, 4 AI and machine learning tools that I'm going to be covering. Or I guess 5, but 3 main technologies. There's the IBM Watson, then Google's TensorFlow, and Microsoft Cognitive, Azure Cognitive Services. So hello everyone, I'm Reese Turner and I'm a creative technologist, which is an interesting sort of new field of work that I've been doing for, it's actually like 15 to 20 years, but the role itself, or the job, kind of is new in the terms of people who employ me not so familiar with the role. Usually what it does is I sort of sit either in the creative department or the developers department and technology department, and I have a foot in each base camp. So I kind of switch between creative and I switch between technology. So a scenario might be I'm working with creatives on coming up with a brief, and I offer a little bit more insight into the technology side of things. Or alternatively, I might be working with developers offering a more creative solution to a problem or some technology that's out there. So I run a company called Enigma, and I'm contracting at the moment at a couple of places, most recently Unbound, Apple, Grumpy Sailor, and Imagination. So there's my email, reese.turnstiles@gmail, and my website is enigma.com.au. So as I mentioned earlier, the main instigator for this talk series and meetup group is COVID-19. So it kind of forced my hand to reach out and connect to people. And I'm using it as a platform to share what I've learned while I've sort of been in lockdown, and want to get other people's thoughts and ideas. So I am a creative technologist, but I interact with a lot of designers, creatives, developers, and suits as well, generally within the advertising industry, although sometimes it changes, and it might be the public sector, or it might be education, or in fact my background is art and I study visual arts, so I do a lot of work in the visual arts scene and the art sector. So this was a way for me to connect with everyone, and I'm just like astounded at how much change COVID-19 has created. And one of the main things that's changed is actually AI. So AI has generally been increasing anyway in our daily society, but I think because of COVID-19, there's some like huge changes that have impacted based on that. And some of the use cases that we would see would be COVID modeling. So the data that they're getting daily and the projections that they're creating are based on real data that is being captured in real time. Although it is a little bit delayed. I think it takes like 24 hours to get a result. But that's pretty amazing. Like, this is the first time that we've had a pandemic that with this type of technology to sort of forecast trends and I guess sentiment as well, and a whole lot of other projections that the government and other bodies are using to dictate what should be done in a country or a business or society. So AI and its impact on society because of COVID-19 is a massive issue. So you can just have a look at China. They created a face recognition technology that recognizes people when they have a mask. So they have a lot of like face recognition to manage society over there, and they didn't want the face to be not able to be recognized when you're wearing a mask. So they created some technology that basically just focuses on the top half of the face. And there's an article that I've linked to there in Financial Times that talks about that article or that technology. So, and obviously, like the biggest factor that AI is sort of managed by is the amount of data. And because more people are online and more people are using technologies, more people are scanning QR codes, all these sorts of things, this means that there's bigger, even bigger data. So it's becoming more accessible. So with AI, I think there's a bit of a stigma against the sort of fear that is portrayed against AI in, I guess, like film and media. You just see like some of the Marvel Avengers films, you know, the AI character in there takes over and is the destroyer. But I think that personally, I think that we shouldn't fear the machine. We should actually fear the creator. So AI is a bit of a black box. We, as users, don't really know what goes into it, only what comes out. And you know, as it's created by humans, it's in a way a bit of a mirror and is reflecting the best, but also the worst features of humanity. And you know, there's many cases of unconscious biasness. There's the case where Google was showing some unsavory ads on their side, and you know, it wasn't their fault, but it you know, didn't work in their favor, and it didn't work in AI's favor either. But it did expose some vulnerabilities that AI has, which can sort of taint in the brand or the technology, I guess. So I think that the main thing to do is to be aware of this and to critique it. And there's a lot of people in the US who are doing this. They're trying to expose the inner workings of AI, and have people choose whether they want that AI to actually be part of their life or not. And I think that's a diplomatic approach, but you can, you know, nip the problem at the bud if you are able to, you know, solve the solution before it becomes a problem by, you know, getting more female developers, getting more people of color coding and being involved in AI, rather than just the sort of generic AI developer who, you know, it's pretty obvious that it's privileged white men. So we need to break that mold. We need to have more women. We need to have more people of color coding and building this AI, and that will influence the bias. And another aspect of AI, which I think is interesting, is that although now creative cognition isn't possible, by the trend that it's growing, it should be possible. And I've just put an example here on the right. This isn't a drawing done by AI, but it's a translation of a sketch. Oops, I'll just go back. I'll click through. So this is a whole paper that you can read about some AI technology which is shared and open source, and it takes a drawing and approximates it into vector artwork, which can save illustrators a lot of time. And you know, that's the basis for training a creative image. And he's got a quote up here that a sketch is the foundation of creativity. So if AI can sketch, then in theory it can be creative. And I think that's really interesting. So I'm going to be, through this talk, drawing parallels to as many creative aspects of AI as I can. So we're going to address, you know, the main question, what is AI? And I think this is one of the best examples that I can see in a creative context of what AI can do and how it can help. So this is by NVIDIA. I think it's called Play Canvas, or AI Play, or something like that, Playground. But basically it's drawing upon a huge data set of photographs high resolution photographs and drawing different parts of a landscape. So you have the different colors on the left representing different environmental features, so mountains, land, rivers, water, sky, and grasslands, rivers, and you can just simply draw on it and it will create a work. And this is what the artist who was meant to be speaking today does with his work, but instead of using photographs, he trained an AI model to create paintings and watercolor paintings from China. Oh, I'm going to let someone in. I hope I hit admit there. Yeah. Okay, she's joining. So in brief statement, one line, what is AI? It is basically any device that perceives its environment and takes action that maximizes its chance of successfully achieving its goal. It's basically cognition. And some examples of AI that we see, this is a little bit boring, but I guess it's good to highlight it. Some of them, the more practical applications of AI is the capture codes that we use. You know, when you're choosing whether there's a stoplight or a crossing or a parked car or a bus, you're actually training Google's AI model. So you might be thinking that, okay, this is great, Google's helped us out with some security. That is the fact, but in exchange, nothing's for free. You are training their data model. And that's a really clever move by Google in that, all neural networks need a human input. They can't train themselves because if they get something wrong, then it's going to perpetuate and make even more mistakes. So the human factor in AI is a big component to oversee and monitor the output. Amazon.com is probably like one of the biggest uses or most practical uses, and I think pioneer in AI for e-commerce. You might also like or suggestions of products that will suit a user based on their profile, their shopping habits and cookies is, it's a huge and useful piece of technology. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm on Amazon and I actually use, you may also like, as a way of finding better products that are more suited to what I'm actually looking for. For example, I might be looking for, say, I don't know what the type of hard drive is called, so I'll just type in hard drive and it'll come up, and then I just keep clicking through the recommendations until I get something which might be like a solid state drive and a particular, like, external rather than internal. So it can really help you in deciding something. And I think that's where AI sort of shines, is that it can, dictate, help us or dictate what we should be doing and what we may like. And yeah, Amazon is probably like the pioneer at that. So some other AI that is pretty obvious in our daily lives is when you do a Google search, the recommendations that come up on there and the search results, as well as all the ads you get served, that's all using algorithms and AI. And then obviously voice, if you use any voice recognition, any intents that you use, if you're using like Alexa or Google Home, your utterances and like voice is being translated into text, and then AI is used to analyze and then return a response. So that is probably one of the most frequently used AIs in our everyday. So I think I mentioned this before, but one of the most important parts of AI is data. So it's all based on a data set. You need to have a model for AI to work well. And because of the access to such data sets now, there's greater access, there's greater data, there's better data sets out there. So we're basically increasing and learning. We're training these models, and the AI is learning more and more each day. So it's becoming better, basically. So some people are aware, or I reckon everyone will be aware, that Facebook have their own AI arm, and they take it very seriously. They do a lot of research in this field, and they believe that it brings the world closer by advancing artificial intelligence. So some of their technologies that they have on their site is they use Deepfake to recognize whether a video is fake or not. They use object recognition, facial recognition, when it recognizes your friend. And like if you upload a photo, it recognizes you. And the other one is they're doing this body detection and background extraction, foreground extraction. They're doing some quite advanced stuff, and that's just the stuff that they're telling us. So I recommend, I've actually got a bunch of links in the back of this deck, which you can access, that have like these links in it. But yeah, you can just go to ai.facebook.com and check out some of their stuff. Just going to change that. There we go. So who is using AI? We know that Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and IBM, and pretty much anyone who has a digital footprint. So if you are online, if you're using social media, if you're searching, if you're even browsing in any modern browser, you're influencing algorithms on different sites that use AI. So pretty much everyone who uses digital. So we're going to get stuck into the core and probably most popular AI technology out there, which is Deepfake. And Deepfake, well, the platform that I'm going to be talking about, is based on TensorFlow. So we'll be talking a little bit about TensorFlow. So if you've heard of Deepfake, or if you haven't heard of Deepfake, you must be living under a rock, because it's probably one of the most popular AI technologies out there, and it has gotten a lot of positive and negative press, because people are realizing that the digital image is you can't really trust it. So what Deepfake is can be illustrated in this video I'm about to play, but it's basically face swapping. So you take one person's face and then you replace it with another person's face. So you have a source and a destination. In this case, we have Mark Zuckerberg, whose face is being replaced by Data in Star Trek. So I'm just going to play a bit of this because this is funny, and I just found this today.
Everything seems to remind me of the nightmare. Objects, sounds, smells. And now I have seen elements of the dream in a waking state.
We welcome everyone to today's hearing on Facebook's social media privacy and the use and abuse of data. Although not unprecedented, this is a unique hearing. I now turn to you, so proceed, sir.
Chairman Grassley, Chairman Thune, Ranking Member Feinstein, Ranking Member Nelson, and members of the committee. We face a number of important issues around privacy, safety, and democracy, and you will rightfully have some hard questions for me to answer. Before I talk about the steps we're taking to address them, I want to talk about how we got here. My top priority has always been fake news, foreign interference in elections, and hate speech, as well as misusing data, developers, and data privacy.
That should not be possible.
I believe.
So I'll stop that because I think that's hilarious and you guys can check that out in your own time. But that's just a really nice example of deepfake being used in a very convincing way. It's quite high quality. A lot of the ones that you normally see are pixelated and they have like artifacts. You can see in this one that it's quite high res and it's really convincing. So yeah, I think that's quite important. And that was done using Deepfake Lab, which is a piece of technology or a framework that is based around TensorFlow, which is Google's AI platform. So what it does, it is an open source deepfake system which allows face swapping. And I don't think I haven't actually used it. I just started doing some research on it today, but I quickly realized that the tool and the framework is massive and you need a lot of time. So it's not something that you can just jump in and do quickly. There's a lot of like calculations going on, and the guy who was going to be speaking, Avon, when he was doing his calculations for training the data set for his painting application, it took, I think, like a week or something to render the model. So and video, and that's just a still image. So to train something with video can take a long time, and that leads me into the just quickly, by the way, it was created by Ivan Provy, who is a Russian developer, and I've got his link at the end, but he has basically open sourced the whole library, and you can just download it and inspect it and use it at your own will, which is great. There are some requirements though that you need, which is you need a really fast graphics card. You need the GTX 1070 or greater, otherwise it just chugs along. And you also need some good quality footage, so both source and destination. The example that I showed back here was shot in probably like 4K and like good quality video with lots of angles, so you can sort of see if I just play it again. It's going to take too long, but basically when you watch one, you look out for all the different angles that you can get. So he's looking down, he's looking left, he's looking up, he's nodding there, facing left, right. You're getting the ear being covered a bit, you're seeing a bit more of the hair. So you need each of these frames, you need to be able to have those frames for them to be able to substitute the image with this face or superimpose it. And all the different actions of the mouth, the like subtleties of the eyes, the blinking, the different wrinkles in the forehead, even down to like twitching of the ears, and how the neck underneath the jaw behaves and stuff like that. So you need to get a high quality video with lots of angles. And yeah, there's like so many Star Trek, Deep Space Nine or whatever it was that it made sense to use that. So, and then what you need is a deepfake. Sorry, that should be Deepface Lab. That's wrong. Let me fix it right now. And you need lots of time, as I mentioned before. Cool. So here's a little tutorial on how easy it is to do. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you can see. So this demonstrates the different angles. So you're seeing the left and right, up and down, blinking, different expressions. And this is the software here. So it's a bunch of scripts. So this is, I think it only works on Windows. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident that like the only demos I've seen are in Windows. You get your destination and you get your source file, and then you run the script, and they're all numbered. I don't know if you can see that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the whole way through, and you just go through each one, and they prompt you with different inputs. Generally, from what I've learned, is you can just use the default options, but if you have a Windows computer with a gaming graphics card, you can basically use this. Yeah, there's one of the things, like it prompts you whether you want to debug or not. You normally just hit return, and it'll take you through how many CPU or which CPU to use, and etc. You can go through and check it out later. So this leads me into TensorFlow, which is a piece of software. I'm just going to run this by Google that helps you create your
TensorFlow is an
AI
open source, end-to-end platform for machine learning. It provides a comprehensive ecosystem of tools for developers, enterprises, and researchers who want to push the state-of-the-art of machine learning and build scalable machine learning-powered applications. TensorFlow is designed to help you learn to build models easily. With an intuitive, easy-to-use set of APIs that makes it simple for you to learn and implement machine learning.
Okay, I'm not going to show all that because you guys can watch a video. What is important is the neural network aspect of this, which was a penny drop moment for me.
This is a 3. It's sloppily written and rendered at an extremely low resolution of 28 by 28 pixels, but your brain has no trouble recognizing it as a 3. And I want you to take a moment to appreciate how crazy it is that brains can do this so effortlessly. I mean, this, and this are also recognizable as 3s, even though the specific values of each pixel is very different from one image to the next. The particular light-sensitive cells in your eye that are firing when you see this 3 are very different from the ones firing when you see this 3. But something in that crazy smart visual cortex of yours resolves these as representing the same idea, while at the same time recognizing other images as their own distinct ideas. But if I told you, hey, sit down and write for me a program that takes in a grid of 28 by 28 pixels like this, and outputs a single number between 0 and 10, telling you what it thinks the digit is, well, the task goes from comically trivial to dauntingly difficult. Unless you've been living under a rock, I think I hardly need to motivate the relevance and importance of machine learning and neural networks to the present and to the future. But what I want to do here is show you what a neural network actually is, assuming no background, and to help visualize what it's doing. Not as a buzzword, but as a piece of math. My hope is just that you come away feeling like the structure itself is motivated, and to feel like you know what it means when you read or you hear about a neural network, quote-unquote, learning. This video is just going to be devoted to the structure component of that, and the following one is going to tackle learning.
Okay, I won't go through the rest of that, but basically there you have an explanation of what a neural network is, which is the core mechanic behind AI and machine learning, and what sort of process goes into it. And in that case, they do demonstrate how that works for recognizing characters and in particular numbers. So I recommend checking that out when I share this with you later. Is there any questions? I was wondering before I go into the next. I don't know, how do I get to the chat? No questions. All right, shout out if you have anything. So just back on that. So TensorFlow is the core technology behind the Deepfake. Let me just pull up Deepfake. So this is the GitHub page, which I've linked to in the bottom of the deck. And it's using TensorFlow and targets NVIDIA, and it's also using Python well, TensorFlow is Python. There are other permeations of it. There's a JS, TensorFlow.js, for those from a web background, and I'm not sure. I imagine there's other languages that you can use for that as well. But this is a really cool, their page is great. Just go on and have a look at all the videos and have a bit of a read. Okay, let's jump back. All right, so what is style transfer? I'm sure you would have all seen this sort of effect around. There was a phase a little while ago where there were all these trippy imagery going around of these eyes that would make up an image. I can't remember what the name of that style was, but basically what the concept is, you apply one image style or look or technique to another image. So in this case, you've got like some artwork from the French Impressionist era, affecting a real image, and we can actually just have a look at that here. This is the TensorFlow website. So you have, again, you have an input, you have a source, and a destination, and one affects the other. So, it's actually Kandinsky. So it's a Kandinsky style impression or influenced photograph. And you could criticize that. It does look quite different, but what the objective is here is to get something that's similar, and then I guess like in time it will improve, and you could argue whether how close you want it to look anyway. But yeah, there's some code examples there if you need it as well. So style transfer is the AI technology of taking an input and a destination source and applying the look from one to the other. You can actually do this now inside of Snapchat, which is really cool. I haven't used TensorFlow for this, but I have used Cloudinary. So Cloudinary is a paid service, but you can sign up and try for free. I think you get a certain amount of uses before they start charging you. But it's great. Like this, they have Ruby, PHP, Python, Node, Java, JS, jQuery, React, Vue, all these different languages and platforms for you to build it. So if you were to just write a Node app, you would install an npm package, and you would have Cloudinary available with a method called image. You pass in the target, which is in this case is the Golden Gate. You set the width and height, set the crop mode to whatever you need, in this case fill, choose the effect, which in this case is style transfer, and there's all these other effects here available, which is really cool. And then you choose the overlay, which is the like influencing, or the source artwork, sorry. So you've got the source and then the target, and then you run it. And they actually give you the URL here, which you can click on, and that's the result. That's in real time. So if I change that, I'd have to have like the right setup, but I guess we could change this here, like make it 800. It's you can't really tell, but it's meant to be wider. So you can use this AI service, cloud service in real time. If you had a different image saved on the server, you could change that Yeah, that's a bit more noticeable. So it's in real time and available. Excuse me. So TensorFlow, Cloudinary, and sorry, I'm just cleaning up my tabs here. Are two really cool platforms to use for style transfer. I'm sure there's many more out there. These are the only ones that I've been in touch with. So this is that example that I just showed you. So bringing it back to creative and creative technology, there is an artist that I really love called Gene Corrigan, who's from America. I think he may even be Canadian. Sorry, Gene, if you're Canadian. He uses AI in his artwork, and I came across him in China when I lived there, and he had a show out at a provincial suburb with a group called OF, and they use open frameworks to build artworks and install it and all this sort of stuff. It's run by my friend Paul, and he is, Gene is an artist that they featured in one of their shows, and this was one of the works. And I actually had a gallery while I was in Shanghai, and I featured some of his work there. So even though I've never met him, I've actually featured his work through Paul, who facilitated that. So his work explores visual culture and explores like new art forms and critiques the fabric of modern society. That's my interpretation of it anyway. Here he is just speaking. I'm just going to run it for a little bit.
With style transfer, we'll be able to take images or sounds or text and then regenerate them in the style of another. Somebody can draw a set of lines or circles, whatever objects, and it turns it into a landscape painting. We can actually do very, very complicated things from very, very simple.
Okay, I'm going to stop because I think we're going to run out of time soon. But another artist who is really cool and at the forefront of AI artwork is Changbai, or his art name is CLI. And he created this, so he took this different approach to style transfer rather than trying to make an artwork based on, Monet or, Miro or Kandinsky. He took a bowl of ramen and processed that and inputted a photograph or an artwork of a baby in a boat rowing. I think it's a famous artwork. We could never find out what it was. But rather than like using, in the previous example, the Golden State Bridge as the the output, and the artwork as the input, he inverted it. He ended up using the he used the input of the ramen and the output of the artwork. So he flipped it basically. Oh, Dottie had to go. Sorry, just reading a text message. So I think that's really cool. I think that's really important in exploring AI and exploring technology in general from a creative aspect, and it's something that I always do, is I try and invert what people are normally doing. And yeah, in this case, it was a really interesting inversion. So I'm just going to minimize. So the last thing we're going to be talking about is image classification. So image classification is basically object recognition, and I've done a little bit of work with IBM Watson and Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services in this field, but you can also do this on Snapchat now. And this example, if you're on Snapchat, if you scan that, will bring up a image bingo demo, which is really cool. asks you to find objects in your home or in your surroundings, and you play a game of bingo to, fill the time. But it demonstrates how much power the image recognition and object recognition has these days. It's very commonly used. I think like the most popular use would be in automated cars, like automated driving systems, Tesla, and other auto cars, like electric cars, use image and object recognition, as well as, I think there's like Alibaba on their website. Is it Alibaba? Taobao, sorry. Uses, if you're searching for something, you can search for that. Google tried it for a while, but they stopped it because they had issues. It's a very practical application. We used it at my previous job to do some skin cancer research. We were trying to build and research a platform for melanoma recognition. That's how I've used it. Here's a little demo on how easy it is to do in Watson, which I'm going to play because it's actually only 2 minutes long and it tells you how to do it.
This video shows you how to create, train, and test a visual recognition model in a Watson Studio project. Start in a project with an associated visual recognition service and create a new visual recognition model. You can create models that classify images or detect objects within images. In this case, you want to classify images. First, edit the name for this model to reflect its purpose. This project already has several zip files uploaded that contain the images to use for training the model. So just select the zip files and add them to the model. Okay, so it looks like all the images were added. You can select a class to view the images in that class. When you're ready, train the model. When the training is complete, use the link to view and test the model. The Overview tab includes a summary and a list of the classes. And on the Implementations tab, you'll find the code snippets to use this model in your application. On the Test tab, you can add images to analyze. And here are the results showing the matching classes and the confidence score for that match.
Sorry, that just skipped forward, but that is very powerful. It shows you how easy it is to set up and train a image recognition using IBM Watson, and I found it that easy as well. This is a new version though. It had to be done on command line, but now they have a UI, which is great. So that tutorial sort of explains that new feature. It only came out a few days ago, August 22, I think. So I was going to have a demo there for that, but I thought I'd just show the video. This is another video, which is the IBM
We wanted to make it really easy for our customers to get meaning out of their data.
A lot of industries have data, but they haven't been actually able to make the data work for them.
Any producer is competing against great competitors from around the world, so they constantly need to innovate to do more with less. Shelby is FactoryTalk Analytics for devices.
Shelby actually allows us to put a data scientist in a box.
It is an information appliance that our customers can deploy in their manufacturing operation to analyze the data that's coming out of the device. We use Microsoft Cognitive Services to train the bot. This also uses machine learning. We're pushing up every event that Shelby sees and doing summary calculations in Power BI. Great Lakes Brewery was one of our first beta customers.
We were able to help them by finding out how their assets were performing, how healthy they were, and allowing them to do it in as easy a fashion as possible.
Implementing Shelby was super easy. It took about 3 minutes, a couple of mouse.
Okay, I'm going to stop that. This is a bit more fun, a bit more creative. It shows a Japanese artist. I can't pronounce his name. Matanabe, I think it is. And he's done a music video that uses image recognition and object extraction. It's a really cool video. Okay, you get the idea. It's using a blend of like AI and real footage and seamlessly combining them into a really cool abstract Japanese music video. You can check that out if you want by clicking through to the end. Okay, so what's next? We've got okay, yeah, I just put this in here. We had this example of like an app. So I guess like the main point here is like AI seems like a little bit abstract and out of reach, but it's not. If you go through this deck and look at all the links and all the examples, it's quite achievable, especially with some of the cloud services that you can do. The only issue is you have to pay for them, and they, affect the bottom line. Whereas if you want to save money, you can build your own, AI service and system, train your own model and stuff like that. So that's the main difference with making it easy or hard. And this example here is an app called Smartify, and it will recognize famous artworks and objects and tell you, the history. It's basically the Shazam for painting. So here's some links at the end, which are all parts of this talk that I've presented, and I'll share this deck on the Meetup group. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for attending, and it seems like most people have dropped off, but you can get this deck after on the Meetup group, and I'll share it via that so you can have a look. If you have any questions, just reach out over the Meetup group or my email, my website, or you can even text me through YouTube where I upload this. I just want to say thank you for attending and your support, and please stay safe in the COVID restrictions. Lovely talking. Thanks for watching. Bye.